Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sammy and I, People's TV, here with the latest news, United transfer news, and it's Friday. Going to wrap up the week. Fingers crossed I'm going to be here with a here we go at some point later today. Actually, not later today because I've got to go to London. Tomorrow or Sunday. We've been waiting for a while. I know that frustration is peaking right now. Someone there saying Sam's going to calm us down. I'm going to try my best to calm you down. I'm going to run through the latest on Rashford being and the Barcelona links coming back. Sancho and Juventus, some interesting conversations coming out of the Italian press today about a severance package. Pay that. We'll also speak about Mbeumo, the fact that the market is moving very, very rapidly around United. I did my video yesterday on the news that Forest are going after Vissa. I'll give you a little bit of an update on that. We'll also speak about every other bit of United news that I've seen in the last 24 hours, and I'll run through it all for you. Get involved in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. I know there's going to be a lot of frustration, so hopefully the chat isn't too bad today. But we'll find out. Let's see who's here from the mod and the member gang. And, of course, it's map day, so we'll whip out the map later on. Let's try and have a good show. Stephanie, good morning to you. Carl, you're there as well. Who else we got here? Sue, good morning to you. Steve, we've got Neville, Lisa, we've got Chris, Aaron, Imtiaz, and Tony. Good morning to everyone. United had such a strong start to June, man. Such a strong start. I think it was the Cunha deal getting agreed on the 1st. And then the news the next day about Mbeumo choosing United. And then the next day, Bruno rejecting Al Hilal. I think that was the first 3 days of June. Poi. A month is a long time in football. That's for sure. I'm going to read a couple of your chats out today before we get cracking, and we'll start talking about Alvaro Fernandez after we got the here we go yesterday. Tyler saying, Sam, honest opinion, does Mbeumo and Cunha as our 10s make Haaland a better striker? Of course it does. I mean, it goes without saying. Of course it does. And it's not just about more service, it's about the confidence of playing between two Premier League players who have scored 33 goals between them. Like was it 35 goals between them last season? Of course it would make him a better striker. And I've already gone on record, and I will stand by this, man. If you're giving me options where I'm either keeping Haaland or I'm playing Calvert-Lewin or Vardy or Wilson, yeah, I'm choosing Haaland. I'm backing another year of Haaland. Although maybe those two things can exist at the same time. You can get Calvert-Lewin in and have Haaland. I don't really know. I just don't want any of those players. I really am bored of it. Let's go through it. Okay, plenty to talk about as always, so please get involved in the chat. Now, we knew this. I say we knew this. It was only a couple of days ago where I said, it feels strange that the Alvaro Fernandez to Real Madrid story has gone a bit quiet, and, since then it's all just exploded. 50 million euros. He is going to Real Madrid. And I think with a lot of players that leave the club, there is an over-exaggeration from some fans. I think Zidane Iqbal is a really good example of this. A lot of fans were angry at the fact that he was sold, but probably more angry at the fact that he was sold for, €1 million? And at that point, I stood by. I think United sold him quite cheap with a bigger sell-on. Maxi Oyedele is another one. We'll speak about him. But Alvaro is the one that's going to sting the most because he left and then we proceeded to not have a left-back for a year. We proceeded to sign Sergio Reguilon on an emergency loan. Yeah, Ten Hag made some mistakes. I think I would argue this wasn't the biggest one, which is crazy for me to say. I'd argue completely overlooking Ahmad for Antony for a long time was a bigger mistake than letting Alvaro leave. But Alvaro now is going back to Real Madrid, and United are going to earn. Now, we've updated the completed transfers board here to try and include the transfer fees that we're going to. I say transfer fees. The money that we're going to get from the release clause. Geez, not release clauses, sell-on clauses. All right? It's all getting complicated and all the numbers, blah, blah, blah. Now, you are correct to point out, which I'm sure you will in the chat, that United aren't going to be getting 8 million this summer for Elanga, and United aren't going to be getting 5.7 million this summer for Alvaro. And I would then say to you, well, these numbers here, as you can see, we haven't spent 62.5 million on Cunha this summer. That's going to be spread over 3 seasons. But there's no way I'm going to get into the complications of putting it down to exactly what United have spent this summer because we don't actually know. The Cunha one's easy to do because it's spread over 3 years, and that's actually been reported. But we don't know how many years the Alvaro sell-on clause is going to be paid back into us. But just for all intents and purposes, this is just to simplify it, just to show you that there is money coming in, right? And there will be. That's the only sort of silver lining that you can take from Alvaro going to Real Madrid. Would he be the player that he is today if he stayed at United? It's a variable that we don't know, okay? He certainly improved as a player when he went to Benfica. Would he have had that same sort of growth if he stayed at United? I don't quite know. James, you're asking, do you worry our club is in decline? No. I worry that our club just literally does not have the money. Now, I've already done a video earlier this summer where I said, actually, when you look at United's finances are actually better than we thought they were because we found out that the PSR regulations, how it's measured, it's not against Manchester United's main accounts, but Red Football Holdings Limited, and that's actually we get into the accounting world of football now. But it's the cash. It's still the cash. That's the thing that's killing United. Really, it feels like it's killing United. Neil, you're saying, think Sam isn't far from admitting defeat? Yeah, I said if nothing happened by Monday, that was when I was going to be concerned. So I think you can see how my mood sort of switched across the course of the week. And it's the fact that it's that Vissa situation which really has sort of made me concerned. Daz, you're saying it's a cash flow issue. I can't prove this, all right? It's just my opinion, but it really does feel like there's... We'll speak about Mbeumo in a minute in more detail, but it feels like a cash flow issue and also a posturing issue. And like United feeling that they need to win this transfer situation with Brentford in order to make a statement and to move on, causing this. Look, United are going to be getting a little bit of money there from Maxi Oyedele as well. And just as a side note here, you know Johnny Evans has been brought in now. He's working for the club. He's retired. He is going to be United's loans manager. Now, you might say, well, hold on, Sam. He's got no experience of doing that. I don't particularly think you need a ton of experience to be a bloody loans manager, people. Or you just have to be a professional. You just have to know the right clubs. You're going to have to build up your contacts list. And, of course, that's where the experience would probably help. You'd have a really good contacts list with all the sporting directors at different clubs, and you know exactly where. But Maxi Oyedele is the perfect example of an absolutely abysmal loan by this football club. He was sent on loan to Forest Green Rovers when Duncan Ferguson, I think, was their manager. I'm not sure he played a minute. And then Duncan Ferguson got sacked. And they sent Maxi Oyedele on loan there. Now, you know what he's done since? He's gone to Legia Warsaw and he's absolutely nailed it. Really, really good growth from him as a player. Now he's looking like he's going to be going to Strasbourg. And you know what that means? He's probably in the Chelsea... Well, he is in the Chelsea circle because they own Strasbourg. So it might mean that he earns a move back to the Premier League. We've got a 40% sell-on clause for Oyedele, but we sold him for it's 6 million euros. So we're going to get 2 million from that. Or was it Troy Deeney? My bad. Not Duncan Ferguson. Either way, you get the point. Our loans have been... We need more Ahmad loans. So I hope Johnny Evans can nail it. Now, in terms of what the market is doing, right? A lot has happened in these last 72 hours, which has, I think, put United into a more difficult position. United have decided, clearly, with the Mbeumo situation, right, we're going to be patient on this. We're not overpaying. We are going to pay what we are going to pay, and we are going to get that player for this price because we feel this is his value. This is the max that we put on it. We think Brentford are playing games. We know that we'll win this one, and we're going to win this one in order to set the tone so that we can get rid of the United tax, which we all want. But then you see how the market has been acting in these last, 48 hours? Paul would like just... I'll answer it, but then we'll speak about Madueke again saying, do you still prefer that Ineos came in and not the Saudis? Yes, 1,000%. I've already told you this. There was no part of me that ever I tried to sort of look at both sides of the coin. Fair enough. No part of me ever wanted Manchester United to be a state-owned club. No matter what that would have got us, all the golden pots and all the endless money, I don't care. I would never have wanted Manchester United to be that. As frustrating as this is, as long as this period of whatever you want to call this, I don't care. I still would rather have this than us be a Saudi state club. Well, not Saudi anyway. Was it Saudi? No, it was Qatar. You get the point, right? I'm firm on that. I know there's going to be loads of you that disagree with that. That's totally fine. It's my opinion. But Madueke, right? 50 mil feels like a lot. But it's all... random question here, right? 50 million now. What is that like a few years ago? Is that the equivalent of signing like a 30 million player? I don't know. Madueke going for 50 mil, Elanga going for 55 mil. A few years ago, that was like your top level player. I think so. Now it kind of feels like 50 million is look, Madueke is not a bad player. Elanga's not a bad player. I think they're pretty decent Premier League players, but they're nowhere near that top level. It's like, and you're saying 50 mil's a new 28 mil. I don't know what the valuations are anymore. Like, it's going to be a good signing. But 50 mil? And then all of this, of course, helps Brentford in their position. Jack, you're saying it's not overpaying, though? That's the problem. In my opinion, the price is fair, considering the price of other players. Messing about for a few million is dumb. And I think that's kind of what we've seen. Look, Spurs with Kudos, and then Spurs moving so aggressively. I hate when they do this. Why is this resetting my stuff that I've got all set up? Yeah, make sure. Oh, don't do it and everything. God damn it. You can wait for a little bit here as I reset everything that has all been set up perfectly, but for some reason it's decided to move. Oh, not too much, actually. We're back in again. We're back in the game, peeps. That's what happens when you have 564 tabs open. Yeah, so you got the Kudos deal, which went through really, really quick. Right? And then you got Morgan Gibbs White that happened, which, look, it's Europa League money. It's fine. I don't really care about that, but it was the knock-on effect of that which led me to have concerns. Because we spoke about Visser yesterday, and I think it was Spurs and Visser. And I was like, no, you really think that Spurs are going to sign Kudos and Visser? And then the Morgan Gibbs White situation came as well. They're definitely not signing Kudos and Morgan Gibbs White and Visser. And then Forest came in. Now, the good thing for United here is the fact that their bid is less than 25 mil. So their bid is less than half of what Brentford want for him. Okay? So in that sense, it's not a horrendous situation, but it just... What it feels like with the Mbeumo situation, it really does to me, and I think Laurie Whitwell mentioned a little bit of this on the Stretford Paddock yesterday. Was it day before? I think it was yesterday. It feels like Ineos are trying to lay a marker with Mbeumo that will have a ripple effect in how other clubs deal with us. I just don't think it's really worked. It feels like we're haggling over... Like we've gone in with 62.5 mil. And look, you might say this is hindsight, and I probably would argue it is hindsight. If United had gone in with the first bid for Mbeumo at 62.5 mil, the exact same as we paid for Cunha, type yes or no. Do you think Brentford would have accepted that? So I think they probably would have. Right? Someone telling me about Wissa's name being mispronounced. Wissa, Wissa. Who cares? Let me see what you're saying down here. Oh, Siam, thank you very much for gifting 20 memberships, dude. Can you go and gift some money to United so they can get this deal done? Would you pivot to Watkins and Rios instead? With the price that Villa, I think, are trying to charge for Watkins, I'm not sure I would. Let me just quickly go down here and see what you're saying. I think the majority of you are saying, yeah, that Brentford would have accepted that. Darren, you're saying, no, nobody accepts the first bid. I think if we had gone in with a very similar bid to Cunha, I think they may have accepted. But here's the kicker, right? At that time, and this is why you need foresight, right? This is what they're paid to do, the people who are negotiating. I guarantee if United had offered 62.5 mil, would have been a lot of United fans that said, hold up, we've massively overpaid for him there. That's a lot. I think even some United fans were a bit annoyed that we had offered 55 mil for Mbeumo. But if you look at what's happened now with Kudus, with João Pedro, with Ilanga, with Madueke, you'd be like, well, 62.5 mil. To be fair, that's pretty damn cheap. Because it is. For a player who scored 20 goals and got 7 assists compared to everything else that's been done this summer now, Brentford's valuation has been pretty fair relative to the market. It is. I don't know what the end point of this is. I don't know whether it's the fact that United don't have the cash or the cash flow to be enabled. But we put in a bid of 62.5 mil. So we must have had the cash flow to be able to deal with that bid had Brentford accepted. So is it really at the point where we couldn't increase that to 65? Joshua, I will repeat this. I've said this how many times. He doesn't have 1 year left on his contract. Do your research. Maybe that's why you tune in here. They have the option to extend his contract by 1 more year. So they can just execute that at any point. So he's got 2 years left on his contract, not 1. Instead of slight risk, come on. There's a risk with every signing. I'm not getting to that argument down here. Do I have an alternative to Mbeumo? Honestly, I think my alternative to Mbeumo would be for United to push Bruno further up and to spend big on a central midfielder. I think that would be my alternative. Of course, you then need you need a striker anyway. But that would probably be what my pivot is. And I don't really know what we're doing in terms of central midfield. I mean, look, we've got the linked whiteboard. You see how many bloody names are on there. How many have you actually seen us getting linked with? It's all been a bit whiffy. Someone going down there speaking about Eze. Eze, if I remember correctly, has got a 67.5 million release clause. I think. Someone's talking about Dibbling down there. Yeah, we saw the price that Southampton were trying to demand. That was hilarious at the time. No one's gone in for Dibbling yet. I think Dibbling will be a Premier League player next season. Just no one's gone in for him. I don't know what it is. I really, at this point, don't know what it is. It's either a cash flow issue or it's just... It's more about winning the negotiation. Which, if it's that, it's kind of hard to value when you win or lose a negotiation. If you know what I mean? Because sometimes you can win a negotiation by getting that player in on the 1st of July. Bang. Sit back, kick back. Enjoy the fact you got your deals done. There is an intangible value to that. But also, what if you've then overpaid for that privilege? Are you then winning? It's the balancing act of paying the right price and getting a player in at the right time. Michael, I wouldn't say it's principles. It's more... It's more the fact that we know that we've overpaid so much for so many players over so many years. And that's definitely a conversation that will be going in the boardroom. Benito, it's nothing to do with Jim being a stingy billionaire. Come on, man. Don't come in here with TalkSport comments like that, man. It's about United's finances. It's about creating a more sustainable transfer policy because we have wasted billions. We've wasted so much money. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the issue. Is I would be probably as patient as I was on Monday had the markets not moved so quickly this week. Spurs getting two, and it's not a case because I always hate when people do this. You go, oh, what's this? Why? What this club's making signings? Why can't we? Oh, we're abysmal. It's more the fact of what the indirect impact of those signings could have on our transfer business, and that's where we've got the domino effect of Gibbs White to Spurs, and then as a consequence, Forest going to Brentford for Wisser, Pisser, Shisser, don't know what his name is. And then the knock-on effect of what that could mean for our negotiations with Mbeumo. And that is a consequence of a longer negotiation allowing these dominoes to fall. So that's what we go back to the balance of of valuing how early you can get a deal done versus actually paying the price that you want to pay. Because it still feels like United are sitting firm on 62.5 mil. Now you've got Cameroon's assistant coach speaking about Mbeumo. This is the original from Telecom Asia, and these are the quotes here, saying, look, he's frustrated for how long it's taken, but he's a professional. Spoke to him a week ago, and he's very calm with everything that's going on. But of course, he's already told them he wants to go to United, and we know he wants to join us. So can you please get it done? Can you please get it done? That's the update. Yon? I don't know how to say his first name. I'm going to go for Yon. Carl, you're saying, do you think some of the transfer frustration is also around the leak of information? What information is being leaked? I don't really know. Someone down there, Jay, saying the only consideration is, does the single step back in our objective to not be overcharged with every purchase justify the degree to which Mbeumo would improve the team? That's a very well worded question there, sir. And let's look, we don't work for United. We don't know what this balancing act is. Michael's saying we need to be patient. And maybe I sound impatient when I'm doing these videos and having these conversations, but it's not through a lack of patience. It's through a concern that the market is, and the moves in the market around United indirectly are going to impact our strategy. And that's kind of what happens when you leave things for so long. Can we please talk about something else, says Chris? Well, because you asked so politely, let's go and talk about something that's going to cheer everyone up. Captain Meltville. The meltiest of men. Sancho. Akash, you're saying Whitwell that said that the Mbeumo deal will still get done. I still am confident it's going to get done. I am. I've maintained that the whole way through. But it's just that you're allowing other potential ripples to affect it. Now, Sancho, right? For the love of God, please be true. It was last week I did a video saying something's finally happening with Sancho. We heard about the Juventus links, that they were getting stronger, and we heard, more importantly, the fact that Sancho was willing to take a wage cut. Now, this is coming from La Stampa out in Italy, covered by Sport Witness. Let me run through it, all right? And just, there's a couple of talking points from this. They're saying, look, Man United have accepted he wants to join Juventus. 25 million euros plus bonuses, I think we all agree, would be a delightful outcome. But this is probably the most important part of this article here, right? According to La Stampa, out in Italy, the tug-of-war continues between the winger and United over a severance package. And Sancho believes that it can be less than 5 million. Now, let's go over here and let's have a conversation about this, right? Because you can do the maths. It's not particularly hard. That severance package is around about exactly what Manchester United got from Chelsea. That's what he wants. And we've spoken about compromises this summer. This is the summer of compromise for United. This is not a summer where I think we're going to get what we want when we want. We are Manchester United, but we're not in the transfer market. We are Manchester United, but we're not as a football club, really. We're 15th. We lost the Europa League final. We're a wounded Manchester United that needs to come back. And when it comes to this summer, we've just got to take compromises. Ash, when you're saying the nerve on this guy to get a severance package, if you give a dickhead a contract, he's going to make damn sure you see that contract out. That's what he's doing here. And this is where United have got to, talking about balance, talking about the value of decisions, etc. Scrap this dude. Boot him out of the door. Pay the 4.3 mil. Consider that a write-off versus what Chelsea paid for the fine of not taking him on obligation. Take the 25 million and the bonuses. Vamos. Gone. Done. Get rid. Because if this doesn't happen, where's Sancho going? Where's Sancho going if this doesn't happen? I've heard nothing. There's nothing from Saudi, and no other club is what. Juve haven't really learned the lesson from Vlahovic, by the way. Gave him a mega contract, and they're trying to get a severance package with him to get him to cancel his contract. Sod this. This is just going to be There is no way that United win with this Sancho situation. There is no win. There is just like, how bad's the loss going to be? That's what we've reached with Sancho. It's like, sod it. Cancel that 5 mil that Chelsea gave us. Give it to him. Contract's done, gone. So we can stop talking about him. I'm bored of wasting my oxygen on him, man. I genuinely hate him at this point. I really do. Like, footballers can be loved and footballers can be hated, and how they act towards their respective football clubs will create or break relationships with fans. The way that Sancho has carried himself, the way that he's made it clear where his priorities are, it's like, bin him off, man. Just not a good man. Not a good human. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Not a good human. I'm sure he isn't. But as far as I'm concerned, he's got his head in totally the wrong place. I want him away from my football club, man. You got Raw saying the only severance package I would give him is my boot out my boot on his way out the door. Let's do a little 3D. Devon, get the table. Captain Stakebait saying, it annoys me that Ineos will make all these cuts for the Glazers to take dividends again in a few years. If I remember correctly, when they took over, it was dividends got banned for 3 years. And I think the concept was at the point of that 3 years was that Ineos were then going to take a bigger stake. We haven't had any sort of word on what that roadmap actually is. And with all the conversations going on around the stadium, I think none of us really know what's going on. There's a lot more to do. Let me see if I missed any other super chats before we crack on with the show. And you're saying a marker would have been having other options. You're talking about Mbeumo. Who has actually been down as another option for him? Let's have a quick look. Semenyo has mentioned at one point. Dibbling has been mentioned loosely. Don't really think there's anybody else down there that we've been properly linked with as a right winger, apart from him. James, thanks for the super chat, dude. Saying fair play, Sam. Been following for 5 years. I don't watch anyone else for United news. This channel's a testament to hard work and dedication. I appreciate that, man. I do put a lot of work into this channel. It is such a big part of my life. And I don't take that for granted. But I tell you what, like, can we get out the swamp? I'm bored of being in the swamp. I've got swamp foot. I've got trench foot. Let me enjoy United being good again. And I did, well, to be fair, I enjoyed June. Why did we not go in for Morgan Gibbs White? Does anybody else think we should have gone in for Morgan Gibbs White? Don't particularly think so. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure he would have been a bad signing, but I think I would rather have gone in for Eze, for example, if we're going to go in for one of those players. Superstar saying not having options is hurting us in negotiations. Don't know. Pete will speak about Garnacho soon. But Sancho, my opinion's clear on this. It feels like United we're at a point now, right, where if the compromise is paying him that severance, just write it off, man. We've got to get him out. We have to get him out. And I think 25 million euros, by the way, fine. I'm good with that. That's pretty much as much as we can get for him. Right, let's move on to the second player that we have massively struggled to move on. Dari saying, is this a one-man running channel? It's my face on all the video content, which is very consuming. I still haven't found somebody that I sort of trust enough to join me and be like a second face for the channel and to work with the community when I'm not here. But there's a big old team behind the scenes that we've been slowly building over time. Ronnie and George and Louis and Lou and Steve and Luca and Jake. And then we've got John, and we've got Tim. I'm not just making names up here, by the way. It's a big old team. Anyway, Rashford, right? That's a photo of Rashford arriving at training yesterday, and he's training on his own. This felt like sort of whiffy news to me. Matthew Moretto, I think, was from... He's considered quite reliable when it comes to Italian news. So he's been given the green light to Barcelona. Transfers very much open. Rashford's given his priority to Barcelona. Ryan is saying you've got to take the leap of faith with someone. Mate, you've worked as hard as I have on building this and for such a long time. Yeah, I know you need to take a leap of faith, but still haven't found that person. Samir saying, saw the pre-season training vid. Mainu's getting big. I actually think Mainu's leaned down, man. He's definitely got bigger compared. We did the photo on socials a while ago compared to Everton versus how he looked against Bilbao last season. But I think he's leaned down a bit. Anyway, right, there's more here on Rashford and Barca. You've got Florian Plettenberg, who I don't think particularly is anywhere near that tier 1 anymore. I don't think he ever was tier 1, let's be totally honest. Same story, right? Rashford and Barca, Sancho and Juve. They're your two strongest links that we've got for two players that we're almost like, please. United are desperate. I'm desperate. You're desperate. We're all desperate. But Luis Diaz was Barca's priority. They already had a bid rejected for him, or like an approach rejected from Liverpool. Nico Williams was their original aim. He stayed at Athletic Bilbao instead. Rafael Leao's been kind of mentioned, but not particularly, and he'll be a lot of money. So fingers crossed this Rashford stuff actually materialises. We know full well that Rashford has been effectively begging to join Barcelona. And maybe that beg and that patience is going to pay off. Right? He's been training on his own. He's not really been training with the team. He's back at Carrington. We'll speak about Garnacho next. I don't have anywhere near as much scorn towards Rashford as I do about Sancho. I think to put them in the same category is really, really quite unfair on Rashford. I think they're separate. Both players I want to move on from Manchester United. I'm not booting Rashford out the door. I'd shake his hand and say thanks for the years. Good luck at Barcelona. I wouldn't give Sancho the same courtesy. But Rashford shouldn't be at Manchester United anymore. That ship has sailed, and we need to move him on. And he's always wanted Barcelona. He's been pretty damn consistent on that. I think he'd take a pay cut to go to Barca. And if he didn't, Objectively, it would be hilarious. But I don't think I'd particularly laugh. And then you've got Garnacho, right? I spoke about Garnacho yesterday. I want to congratulate Manchester Evening News for publishing fake quotes from the president of Napoli. Remember we spoke about those quotes yesterday. What was it he said? Like, oh, Garnacho's got pace and power, but he can be like, he's twice the player he is at United. There's something about United. I can't really say what. We had a conversation about it. I was like, it just seems a bit odd for a president to say that, but Manchester Evening News ran with the quotes, and because we trusted them, and we ran with it. Turns out he didn't bloody say anything. The Manchester Evening News just, I don't know where they pulled the quotes from, but they weren't real. Now, we're seeing that Bayer Leverkusen may or may not have been interested in Garnacho. I think we saw that at one point that Ten Hag was coming after Antony potentially. Antony's still available, by the way. Right? Antony's still available. But Garnacho, you know what's really pissing me off about that? The idea that there's no chance for Garnacho to join Leverkusen. That's going to be because they don't think he's worth the money that United want. And if United are asking 50 mil, like piss off, man. He's worth 50 mil. It really does feel like everybody. You know how, like, when teams used to play United at Old Trafford, they used to be scared of Old Trafford. Over these last few years, United come to Old Trafford going, we can at least get a point here. We can probably win this. And just their mindset is very different at Old Trafford compared to how it was before. It really feels like that's how clubs approach us in the markets as well. How much you say he's worth? He's not worth that. It feels like clubs don't respect the valuations that United give their players. Even though if it's 50 mil for Garnacho, you can't come at me and say that he's not worth 50 mil in this market. Because I know that players aren't just sold on who they are now. They are sold on how good they can be. And potential is massively a part of the valuation of a football player. And Garnacho's worth 50 mil in this market. But I guarantee it'll be like that. And Bayer Leverkusen, by the way, have got an absolute ton of money in. You know all the sales they've been doing. And he's saying Garnacho shot himself in the foot with his attitude. Simple as that. No, we'll see. Reports from ESPN are suggesting that Garnacho is going to be coming back to Carrington just like Rashford is. Now, I don't know whether that means that he would be training on his own. No idea. But it's Friday today. Would he be back today? Not quite sure. We saw him on a plane. He posted a photo of himself on a plane on Instagram. Might be back in today. Yesterday, we'll speak about this. But Bruno was back in. Casemiro was back. Højlund, Delot, quite a few. But Garnacho could well be coming back to Old Trafford. And still, as it stands, well, that's a couple of emails. Turn your phone on silent. Can't get a staff these days. As it stands, no one's in for him. Napoli is all we've really had. Tidy is saying, I don't see Garnacho leaving this summer. Like, when I went into this summer, I thought Garnacho was going to be not one of the easiest ones to sell, but easier than bloody Sancho, easier than Rashford. That's what it feels. When are we playing Leeds, says Hector. We play Leeds next Saturday, I believe. So I wanted Mbeumo in. I've always maintained that, like, the earlier the better, sure. But if we get him in, if he's on the plane for the pre-season tour, then I would consider it a success. Because the pre-season tour is the most important element of it. The team flying away, bonding, etc., etc. But you're just missing out on time at Carrington now. Valuable time at Carrington. Chelsea will go after Garnacho now that Madueke's gone. Chelsea has always been the sort of the firmest link. And I've already said this as well. Part of me, and this is where I'm compromising this summer, part of me was like, no, sod that. I don't want Garnacho to join any Premier League. I don't want any United player to be sold to any Premier League club. Sod that. Get them gone. My compromise is I don't care anymore. As long as they're not in my football club anymore, I'm fine with it. So if Garnacho goes to Chelsea, okay, fine. If he succeeds at Chelsea, I'll deal with it. Because he won't be at United. Right? That's a compromise that I've personally had with him. And with Antony and Betis is this summer's Sancho and Dortmund. Right? There's Antony out in Brazil posting training videos. No movement from Real Betis at all. They've had some money in this summer. Good. Doesn't actually mean... Is that just the same 2 free kicks on loop? I think it is. Otherwise, he's very consistent. Oh, that wasn't on loop. No, it's not actually on loop. What player? 100 mil. I can't give you any positive news on Antony's move either. So if we go to the leaving whiteboard, is this completely up to date? Not quite sure. Yeah, I need to update that a little bit. Nothing really there. Latest from the BBC is that Real Betis returned for pre-season yesterday, but Antony remains in Brazil. Club still hopeful of a positive conclusion to talks with United, but any deal has to fit their financial position, a.k.a. we can't afford his wages. Because Antony would go in, I think, as the top earner. Wow. One of the top 3, 4, 5 earners at Real Betis. I think the highest earners on like 120 grand. Tardy's saying, I know we need to get rid of Antony, but if it doesn't happen, I don't think he will be an issue in the dressing room. I don't think he would be an issue in the same way that Sancho would be, that Rashford would be, and the Garnacho would be. But yeah, again, I don't have the same levels of score. I think to put Antony in the same category as Sancho would just be completely disingenuous. Antony did not have a good season. He went out to Real Betis and he walloped it. Actually had a fantastic loan spell, which put him back in the shop window. It was a bit, you know how United fans are getting frustrated? The fact that Antony was banging goals in? I was just sitting there going, good. More likely to sell. Problem is the club that's trying to buy him financially are nowhere near at the level of Manchester United. So there has to be a compromise. I don't know what that compromise is. It might be United accepting a lower fee. I have no idea. But Antony and Real Betis, as I said, it's this season's Sancho and Dortmund. Let me see what you're saying there. We should take Antony on tour, see if they get worried about injury. I don't want any player on that. I don't want one player on that plane who is not part of this squad going forward. I thought this was quite a fitting photo of Cunha from yesterday. In the spotlight, isolated, on his own. The only new signing that we've made. You could say that we've also made Diego Leon, but we knew about him in January. It's just that Diego Leon, I suppose, he only has officially joined now. So you can put Diego Leon in that too. Let me see what he's saying down there. Antony's okay. It's just not what Amorim wants. Antony's fine, man. He was never an £80 million player. If it was a £40 million player, still would have been a failure, but it wouldn't have stung us so much. What else is he saying? Christian is saying you're in Stockholm next Saturday. You're going to be there. Enjoy it, man. Have a great time. I've never been to Scandinavia, man. I've been to plenty of Central Europe. A little bit of Eastern. Just never been to Scandinavia. Anyway, a couple of updates from the training ground. Bruno's back. Højlund's back. Casemiro's there. And quite a few others. So it seems like the majority of the squad is there. Okay. Diogo Dalot's been given the number 2 shirt after Lindelof left. So he's going to be staying. I know that Dalot is not good enough. I don't think Manchester United will win a Premier League with Dalot at right back or right wing back. But I would also be prioritising the exits of many players ahead of Dalot. Now, both of those two things are correct at the same time. I don't particularly... You might see him play more at right centre-back next season. That's a possibility. I think you'll be seeing more of Ahmad as a wing-back. As long as we sign Mbeumo. And maybe you could say that's an alternative. If United don't sign Mbeumo, then you could be playing Ahmad further forward and then actually going out and signing a right wing-back. That could potentially happen as an alternative to Mbeumo. I I personally think if United move on from him, instead of looking at a different right winger, I think we'll switch where our focus will be. And I think we'll either switch towards signing a right wing back and pushing Ahmad further up, or putting all the money into a central midfielder and pushing Bruno further up. Yeah, that's where I stand, John. There are far worse players at United than Dalot. And there's quite a few players I would put down as bigger priorities to move on than Dalot. Despite the fact that he's got his limitations. And he does. There's definitely a few players I'm getting rid of earlier than him. Anyway, he's got Lindelof's shirt, number 2. Ryan, you're saying he's a liability? There's a lot bigger liabilities at this club than Diogo Dalot. As limited as he is in what we need in a right wing back, there's more I need to get rid of first. Glenn, you know I agree on that, saying Ahmad's better at right wing back. Remember that the right wing back next season, if Amorim plays how he wants to play next season, and he has to, or he's going to get sacked, Ahmad's going to be far more as a right winger than he is a right wing back. You're going to get him bursting forward, and any time that he goes forward, the idea is that right central midfielder drops in to cover that space that Ahmad leaves by going forward. So if we get hit on the counter, that gap isn't huge. Or you get the 2 wide centre-backs that spread and go a little bit wider. Might leave your main central centre-back a little bit exposed. That's what it is. That's why those 2 right wing-backs have got... No, that's why those 2 wide centre-backs have to be athletes. Lenny Yoro, we know, is one of them. And it might be Aiden Heaven on the left, but I would say that was actually Lenny Yoro's best position was left centre-back. Let's find out, right? Can we look at some positive news, says Mr. Smith? Mr. Anderson. I'll tell you what today's lunchtime video is. And I'll tell you kind of how the process goes. Like every morning I sit there with the team and we sort of speak through what we feel might be a good idea for the day. And this morning there were 2 options that we had. I think there's a video that could and should be done on Ahmad and Alvaro and the mistakes that need to be learned about how those 2 were dealt, and sort of having the structure at the club that goes above the manager and actually kind of dictates a little bit the football vision. But instead of that, we're going to do a video on what's happening with Lisandro Martinez. We're going to track everything that he's done progress-wise, rehab-wise, where he is right now, the setbacks, any setbacks that he has had. So everyone knows exactly what's going on with Lisandro going into the preseason. I thought that had more value than looking back on something negative. So that's what today's lunchtime video is going to be. I just want to give you an insight into sort of how we decide what videos to put out. Being disappointed, says Sandal, that there isn't much noise on Højlund. Only noise on Højlund was Inter, and that went quiet. And Roma, I think there's been a little bit of whiffy links, but nothing particularly big. Abhishek saying, Sam, please make a separate video on Mbeumo. There is no update for me to give you on Mbeumo. I gave it last night, and we've spoken through it as a community here this morning. We just need that 3rd bid. Get it done. I still feel we'll get it done, but it's just... United could ruin an orgasm. They could somehow make it painful. That's kind of what it feels like with the Mbeumo deal now. Because by the time it's done, some of the allure is going to be gone. Because we've lost out on having him for X amount of time, and we've kind of lost out on having that extra time to focus on other deals. Neil's saying, is whiffy a new word? Mate, you've not been here for the last 2 bloody weeks. Whiffy has been in my vocab for some time. Right, it's map day, by the way, so you know the drill. Let me know what city and country you're watching it from, and I'll get you on the map. Last few map points we've had are South Africa, Cameroon. We've had Kerala in India, Laval in Canada, Sabah in Malaysia, Hellerup in Denmark. Let's get a few of you on the map. Yeah, and we are going to be doing a video on the academy players, sort of the ones to watch out for in the preseason. That's already planned for next week. But let's have a look where you're watching from. We've got Marco watching from Novi Sad in Serbia. Feliz Novi Sad. A little bit of a culture clash there. We've got Hamzuza watching from Denver in the US of A. Awesome. Colorado. Makes me want to watch South Park. Got to love Randy's dad. No, Randy. No, you've got Stan's dad, Randy. Best character in South Park? I think so. And let's get one more. Got Fred watching from Cotonou in Benin. Awesome. 3 new points added on. Bam. Now look, last minute or two of the show. It has been frustrating this week. It really has. I'm normally somebody who can remain pretty patient, pretty calm, and kind of not get too swept away with things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. The thing that made me go, was the Wisser, Pisser, Schisser deal. And anybody who wasn't here, it's just I've been told I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Right. This is the one that's made me go, actually, that will force United's hand a little bit. So let's see when or where this third bid goes in. Is it just United trying to get the right deal? Is it just we don't have the cash? Is it they want to win the negotiations? I don't know. Yes, Corey, I know a new South Park season's coming out. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a good few years. Happy, you're saying Sam's getting highly depressed. Or maybe you're saying you're getting highly depressed by the Mbeumo deal. Isn't it? It's very easy to get swept away in it all. Do I still have confidence that United will have the summer that we need? Honestly, no. The reason I'm saying that is mainly because of sales. Still think the Mbeumo deal goes through. But in terms of winning this negotiation, the longer this goes on, the less that we are winning, if you know what I mean. And I'm really, really concerned about sales. So I'm just hoping this weekend, Sancho and Juve, if you're going to pay that severance package, United, do it, man. Do it. It's worth its weight in gold to give him the money that Chelsea paid as the fine for not bringing him in, and then we just sell him for 25 million euros done. And then Rashford and Barca. Feels to me that the Rashford and Barca one's going to continue long into the summer. That's my opinion. Right, I'm going to wrap this up for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your chats. If you can, please drop a like on the video. I'll be here Monday morning, 10 a.m, as always. And if I need to be, I'll be here. But this weekend, I'm proper geezering, knocking down an outbuilding that needs to be knocked down. Sledgehammers out, a couple of beers in the sun, bit of barbecue. Ooh. Reverse Syrian tomahawk steaks, you say? Oh, come on. Right? Much love. Have a cracking weekend. It's hot as hell in the UK, so enjoy yourself. And I'll be back here soon. Take it easy.